this is a set which is based on table. Here a few players of Indian team are assigned grade by BCCI. As per the grading scheme, a player with points more than 15,000 is assigned grade 1. A player with point between 10,001 to 15,000, both inclusive, is assigned grade 2nd, and so on. The following table gives partial information regarding the parameters that are taken into account for awarding points for a few Indian players. Blank, blank cells indicate missing data. From the table, it can be seen that the total run scored by Ganguly is 10,000 and wicket taken by him is 50. Similarly, we can see the total run scored by Lakshman, that is 3000, and total centuries scored by Dravid, which is 12. Further, it is given that for the grading system, 1 run equals 1 point, 1 wicket equals 20 points, and so on. And some additional info is also given, and these are Tendulkar has scored more than Ganguly. It means run scored by Tendulkar is more than that of Ganguly. Dravid has scored more run than Sehwag, which means number of run scored by Dravid has to be more than Sehwag. Kumble has taken the highest number of wickets, which is twice the number of wickets taken by Zaheer. The total number of wickets taken by Kumble is 300, which is twice the number of wickets taken by Zaheer. Therefore, the number of wickets taken by Zaheer is 150. Dravid has taken the highest number of catches, which is not known to us. And finally, it is given that the number of catches taken by Lakshman is half of the total number of catches taken by Dravid, and it is known that Lakshman has taken 60 wickets. It means Dravid has taken 120 wickets. And this information can also be filled in the table. Now coming to the question, in first question it is asking the present grade of Lakshman, or Lakshman is in grade. Before answering this question, we need to understand whether it is possible to compute it or not. It would depend whether the maximum point that Lakshman can score vis-a-vis along with minimum point lies in the same grade system or in a given grade system or not. If it is the case, like if total points of Lakshman is less than or equal to 5000, then he'll be in grade first. If it is more than 5000 and 5001, equal to more than or equal to 5001 and less than or equal to 10,000, then he'll be in grade 2, and so on. So now let's check the maximum number of point that is possible for Lakshman. It is known that he has scored 3000 runs, and each run is equal to 1 point. So through the run he has scored, he'll get 3000 points. And after that we can see he has taken 60 catches, so 60 into 3 points, that is the number of points awarded to each catch. And later on it is known that he has not taken any wicket, so 0 point. Similarly, case of 5 wicket haul would not come into picture as he has not taken any wicket. Now if we considered his number of centuries, which is not given in the table, then we could think of many possible values of it, but it cannot be more than 30 as his total run is 3000. And if we considered 30 centuries for him and 50 points for each century, then he can have 30 into 15, in fact 50. From here we get his total maximum number of points as 4680, which is less than 5000. Therefore no matter whatever the number of century he has scored, his grade will always be fourth, as his total maximum possible score is not more than 5000. Now coming to next question, here it is given that the total points of Ganguly is greater than that of Tendulkar, and we have to find the number of centuries by Ganguly cannot be less than. So basically we have to find the minimum possible centuries that Ganguly must have had scored so far, so that his total points could be more than that of Tendulkar. So now if we look at the table, we know all the information for Tendulkar but number of runs, and we also know that Tendulkar has scored more runs than that of Ganguly, but here we have to minimize the number of centuries that Ganguly would have scored so far. So we need to minimize the number of run scored by Tendulkar, and which has to be more, and which is also more than 10,000. So number of minimum runs scored by Tendulkar has to be 10,001. Now all other information are known, so the minimum number of points that Tendulkar can score is 10,001, 80 wickets, and each wicket gives 20 points. Then 80 catches and each catch gives 3 points. Similarly 25 into 50, as each century fetches 50 marks. And finally 5 wickets all, which is 5 into 50. Now this comes out to be 13,341. As we want to minimize number of centuries scored by Ganguly, then we need to take care of a couple of more things here, and these are catches and 5 wickets haul. In as centuries are kept to be minimum, we have got to maximize number of catches and 5 wicket haul for Ganguly, as we know that Dravid has taken the maximum number of catches, which is 120. The number of catches taken by Ganguly cannot be more than 120 or even equal to 120, and we also want to maximize this figure, so at max it can be 190. And now coming to 5 wickets haul, as Ganguly has taken 50 wickets, the number of 5 wickets haul at max can be 10. Now compute the total number of points with the help of these two figures that Ganguly can have excluding centuries, and we find it as 10,000 into 1 plus 50 into 20 plus 119 into 3 plus 10 into 50, and it comes out to be 11,857. And if we look at the difference between the number of with the score of or points of Tendulkar and Ganguly, we find that Ganguly is still lagging behind by 1485 points, and now these points could be obtained through centuries only, and we know that each century fetches 50 points. So in order to score or get 1485 points on the back of centuries, we need at least 30 centuries. Therefore the required answer has to be 30, because without scoring these many centuries, Ganguly cannot surpass the total points of Tendulkar. Moving to the next question, we have to find the number of players who can be in grade 4, who can be in grade 4 cannot be more than. So basically we have to find the maximum number of people or persons in grade 4. We already know that Lakshman is in grade 4, so we have got one person. Now looking at the table, if we see total point of Zahir, which will be 1000 into 1, as he has scored 10,000 1000 run plus wickets is 150 into 20. 50 catches will fetch him 50 into 3, 150 points. Now coming to centuries, at max he can score 10 centuries, so the number of points that he can have through centuries will be 10 into 50. And finally 8 wicket haul will fetch him 8 into 50 points, and on solving it we'll see that this is less than 5000. So Zahir will be the second person who will be in grade 4 for sure. Now if we look at Kumble's point, we can say that he has definitely scored he has definitely scored more than 5000 points, and Dravid will certainly score more than 5000 points, as just number of scores that he has scored will fetch him 8000 points. We have already considered Lakshman. Now coming to Sehwag, as we know that Sehwag's score runs is less than Dravid, so we can give any number of runs to Sehwag subject to condition that it should be such a number that can accommodate 10 centuries. It means the minimum number of run that Sehwag would have scored has to be 1000, and if we consider his minimum number of runs at 1000, the total number of points that will get for Sehwag will be less than 5000, so he can also fall in this category. And now coming to Tendulkar and Ganguly, they'll suddenly score more than 10,000 points. So there can be at max 3 players who can fall in grade 4, and these players are VVS Lakshman, Jahir, and Virendra Sehwag. Therefore option A is the correct answer. Now coming to the last question of this set. In this question it is given that Sehwag is in grade 2nd. It means his total number of points has to be 10,000 or 10,000, more than 10,000, and less or equal to 15,000. And if we look at options, two options, and it is asking the number of runs scored by Sehwag could not be less than. If we see first two options, then what we see in second option is Sehwag cannot be in grade 2nd. Before doing anything, we need to explore this possibility, like whether Sehwag can be in grade 2nd or not. As we saw in previous question, the total points scored by total points that Sehwag could have excluding his runs is less than 2000, and we also know that Sehwag has scored less than the number of runs scored by Dravid, who has scored 8000 runs. It means to cross the to cross 10,000 runs, Sehwag needs to score more than 8000 run at in all the possible situation, which is not possible. Therefore Sehwag cannot be in grade 2nd, and finding the minimum run Sehwag that needs to be scored in order to be in grade 2nd is not a possibility. Therefore option B is correct answer. So that's all about this set.